Hello, Morning Mimosa viewers. This is the founder, Holly Sisa. And as you guys know, Morning Mimosas values human life, criminal justice, healing, and educating for the Black and minority communities with a note that we love everyone. Guys, today's episode is going to be mostly criminal justice focused. As you guys know, I'm now in school. And I've already learned a lot just in my first, few days. When it comes to criminal justice, I want you guys to please do your research. Make sure you are researching your rights, making sure you're researching your freedoms, and making sure you are understanding every component of the criminal justice system. So I'm just going to break down a little bit of what I've already learned. You guys can go ahead and fact check me if you guys want to. You guys can look this up as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the three major components of criminal justice, which is policing, courts, and corrections. And I'll just go ahead and break down all the definitions of those. Policing, obviously, they have the task of investigating the crime and bringing it to the next step, which is the courts. And then the court's responsibility is to determine whether or not to press charges against that offender. And if the courts deem yes, and there is a conviction, and then corrections comes in and they carry out the sentence mandated by the court. Now, obviously, there's a whole bunch of other stuff there that we can go deeper into, but we're not going to do that yet. We'll get to that a little bit later. Obviously, appeals and all that great stuff, but we'll get to that. There is actually a case in my textbook that really shocked me. It is from May of 1975. There was a man named Harold Franks, and he was unfortunately unalived because he was being robbed. Now, this case is really interesting that they put it in this textbook because 3 men were convicted of the robbery and the murder, and it was based off of a 12-year-old boy named Eddie Vernon's testimony that he gave to the police. Now, I have to remind you, this is 1975. Okay. Let's fast forward. All of them were convicted. They were all sentenced to death. This is in Cleveland, Ohio. And all of their sentences were commuted to life with the possibility of parole. Now, fast forward. 2 of them were brothers. One was released in 2001, and the other one was released in 2002. The one that got the most time, his name was Ricky Jackson. He served 39 years in prison. Now, let's fast forward. Eddie Vernon is now an adult. And in the year 2013, he recanted his initial statement of stating it was the 2 brothers and Mr. Jackson. It also stated that Mr. Vernon started working for an Innocence Project to help get other people out of prison, including Mr. Jackson, because the Wiley brothers were already released in the early 2000s. So it just goes to show you that things are heavily flawed, including our criminal justice system, guys. It's, about ethics and discretion. There's just a whole bunch of background when it comes to that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up a case that bothered me from last year. In March of 2023, a young man by the name of Dexter Wade went missing in Jackson, Mississippi. His mother, Miss Wade, filed a missing persons report with the Jackson police. But listen to this, guys. The whole time, they knew where Mr. Wade was because a police officer hit him with a car. And they buried him. and did not notify his mother, even though they had his mother's information to contact her. Now, the reason I'm telling you guys this story is because the two things I just stated, which is ethics and discretion, come into place with this. Ethics, when it comes to criminal justice, is the earnesty of one's, I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain it without going too textbook. I'm trying to make sure I'm able to understand this. Ethics is just making sure that you are following, what's right, basically. What's right. And there's a lot of ethical violations that this Jackson, Mississippi Police Department didn't do. And obviously they had discretion, right? Discretion is the most powerful tool that any criminal justice agent can have. That is the decision making of certain things or certain aspects of cases. Obviously, they used their power to make sure that officer never paid for what he did to Mr. Wade. And they also used that discretion, and they also ethnically violated by not contacting the family that their son was dead for all those months. But she lived in agony for about 127 days. Do the math, ladies and gentlemen. It's a long time. For about 4 or 5 months, they knew what was going on with her son. They knew where he was. They knew that he was buried. And they covered it up. My question starts to become, who holds the police accountable when they do acts like that? What the Jackson, Mississippi Police Department did was absolutely disgusting. First and foremost, one of their own hit another human being, and they all teamed up together to cover it up. And they knew that woman was looking for her son. So first and foremost, I actually just want to say shame on you, Jackson, Mississippi, for doing that to that family, to the Wade family like that. You guys are just morally wrong, ethnically wrong, and you guys use your discretion disgustingly. And I hope for whoever polices the police that some consequences are held there to that whole entire department, because that's absolutely disgusting. That brings up my next issue when it comes to criminal justice. Like I said, as I'm learning more, we will talk more. Racism is a huge factor in the criminal justice system. Okay? From my research, obviously you guys know blacks are more likely to get harsher sentences than whites. We know that white men are more harshly sentenced than white women. All that fun stuff. It's not fun, guys. You guys know what I mean. But I'm glad I decided to take this course. I'm glad I decided to go this route. I'm glad that I'm majoring in criminal justice and criminology, because I want to be able to help the communities go in a different direction. I did say this is a criminal justice episode, but you guys already know me. I'm always trying to educate somehow, some way in these episodes, even in the cold cases that we talk about. Because we like to mention the flaws of either the investigation or the flaws of the suspects or the flaws of witness testimony, just all of that stuff. We're always here to educate you guys on something, because every day, if you're a normal human being, you're always learning something, you're always absorbing knowledge, right? So, let's absorb this knowledge together. As I'm learning, you guys will be learning. I told you guys, Morning Mimosas is a podcast, and not just a podcast, it's a life. It's a lifestyle. It's a life change. Remember what I told you guys, morning means to what? Awaken. And mimosas is a beverage that I love, but it also has a meaning of a beverage that gathers. So that's why I put that together, to awaken a gathering of people. let's start here. That's why I went back to school. I'm going to make sure I educate you guys just like I'm being educated. Because I want to make sure that we're all learning something. And not just learning something, but taking something away from this and growing from it and applying it. Guys, I'm super excited to be in college. I'm super excited to grow and learn with you guys as well. It has been when I say very, very interesting, learning certain criminal justice terminology because of some of it's in Latin, which I think is pretty cool. And then learning about the two models of criminal justice, which is the crime control model and then the due process model. I want to talk about those two briefly. When it comes to the crime control model, so that's the model where they focus on, suppressing and controlling the public's, activity to an extent to ensure public safety. Now with due process, this is the one that ensures the rights of the offenders and their freedoms and everything like that. I am for both of them. Now, both of those also hurt the community as well, and I'll talk about those both very briefly as well. When it comes to the crime control model of society, that's great. We want to make sure offenders are in prison, so we are reducing the crime rate. All for it. But there's also that issue of putting the wrong people in prison. And then the people who are actually guilty are still roaming around free, causing more crime. So there's, like I said, there's the pros and the cons. When it comes to due process, I absolutely believe people deserve their rights and their freedoms and to know what they're up against if they're facing charges. All for it. Here's my issue. You guys committed these. Now I'm talking about people that commit heinous crimes. You guys committed these heinous crimes against victims, women, children, disabled, or whomever the victim was, and you get all these rights. Well, the victim has to suffer while you get rights of appeal and everything else, right? 3 meals a day in prison while you serve your sentence. While the victim here goes the healing part, while the victim is suffering and trying to heal from the situation. In all honesty, one of my biggest missions, guys, is to put healing in criminal justice. That's why I'm becoming a detective, and that's why I'm minoring in human services, because I'm trying to be a detective who is also on the path to help victims heal and, wrongfully convicted brothers and sisters, help them get on a path of healing so they can come out of prison, be the better versions, actually the best versions of themselves. That's what I'm here for. That's why I'm going, like I said, that's why I'm going back to school. That's why I'm getting this education, guys. So I can be a better person for society and just be able to be a positive force in a very negative world sometimes. But yeah, let's continue this journey of getting justice, healing, and I will also continue this journey of education. I had to make sure I was getting the education so I could educate. So here I am. And I'm super excited to share more and more information with you guys. Hey guys, this is Morning Mimosas, founder Holly Sisa. And you guys already know Morning Mimosas values human life, criminal justice, healing, and educating for the Black and minority communities, with a note that we love everyone. Until next time, thank you so much for listening.